making water an economic resource for India's cooperatives and producer companies. India stands at a crossroad in its management of water. For decades, our laws and policies have treated water primarily as a public trust and a basic right available to citizens either free of cost or at nominal charges. While this principle has safeguarded access, it has also prevented water from being systematically managed as an economic resource. The result is visible all around us: aquifers depleting without accountability, rivers reduced to trickles outside the monsoon, and local communities unable to mobilize finances for managing their water needs. If India is to ensure both water security and rural prosperity, it must now embrace a bold reform, recognizing water not only as a right but also as an economic commodity that can be managed, priced, and traced within a regulated framework. The first step in this direction would be to create a legal foundation that explicitly recognizes the dual character of water. On one hand, every citizen must have an inviolable right to a minimum allocation of safe drinking water. On the other hand, all water use beyond this lifeline supply must be treated as an allocable economic resource subject to pricing, contracts, and regulation. The National Water Policy of 2012 hinted at such an approach where it called for pricing water to reflect its scarcity value. But, and yet, more than a decade later, India still lacks statutory clarity. The second step is to empower the very institutions that stand closest to farmers and rural citizens, that is, cooperatives and producer companies. These entities, already active in agriculture, milk, and input supply, can become the backbone of India's new water economy. With the right amendments in the Companies Act and the Cooperative Societies Act, they could be authorized to extract, treat, distribute, and sell water to their members and communities. Just as dairy cooperatives revolutionized milk supply and renewable energy cooperatives are reshaping rural electrification, water cooperatives and water producer companies could transform irrigation, domestic supply, and even small scale industrial use. This vision requires establishment of a new system of rights and licenses. Groundwater, for example, is still legally tied to land ownership, giving individual farmers unfettered access to what is in the fact a shared resource. A reformed law should vest groundwater rights at the community level, creating tradable entitlements that are allocated in line with local water budgets. Surface water too must be managed with the basin level allocations, recognizing the ecological need of rivers and wetlands before allowing withdrawals for business. Cooperative and producer companies would then operate as licensed service providers, drawing water in line with the sustainable extraction limits and distributing it under transparent and enforceable contracts. Pricing will be the most delicate yet crucial element of this reform. Free or heavily subsidized water has created a culture of waste, from flood irrigation in agriculture to unchecked urban pumping. A new regime must establish the principles of water tariff design that recover the cost of infrastructure encourage conservation, and build a fund for future sustainability. At the same time, lifeline water for drinking and cooking must remain free of charge. Here again, cooperatives can play an important role because their democratic structures ensures that the tariff decisions are taken by members themselves rather than imposed by distant authorities. To make such a system credible, regulation is essential. Just as electricity is overseen by an independent state electricity regulatory commission, India should establish state water regulatory authorities. These bodies would issue licenses, approve tariffs, and monitor compliance with sustainability norms. At the national level, a water economic council could be set all overall policy, coordinate between states and publish regular water accounts, etc. Disputes between communities, cooperatives, and regulators would be addressed through fast track tribunals rather than long drawn court battles. Coming to next point, finance is another key pillar of the framework. Water cooperatives and producer companies will need capital to build these treatment plants, lay pipelines, install drip irrigation schemes, and recharge aquifers. This requires a favorable financial ecosystem. Community-based water services would be exempt from GST to encourage formalization. Bank and NABARD must bring water business models under the ambit of priority sector lending. Carbon markets and sustainable development goal linked funds should recognize water saving activities as eligible for credits, while infrastructure bonds could mobilize wider public investment in this water security plan. All of this must be anchored in safeguards. Any move to treat water as an economic resource must not undermine its character as a common good. Every household must be assured of minimum daily requirements regardless of the ability to pay. No cooperative or producer company should be allowed to compromise environmental flows or degrade aquifers. Legal provision should mandate that these entities remain majority owned by local users, ensuring that the water does not become the plaything of outside investors or corporations. Transparency requirements such as annual disclosure of water use, tariff, and financial performance will further strengthen community trust. Finally, the transition should be phased. A new Water as an Economic Resource Act would begin with pilots in states that already have experience with water user associations like Maharashtra, Gujarat, and Andhra Pradesh. Lesson from this pilot should inform a gradual national rollout. With mandatory review and amendment after 5 years. In time, India would have a comprehensive modern framework that balances the sanctity of water as a human right with the pragmatism of water as a scarce economic resource. Such a reform would do for water what the Electricity Act of 2003 did for power. It would unlock community investment, professionalize management, and create sustainable revenue systems, all while protecting their poorest. And producer companies would no longer be helpless, dependent, or erratic government supplies, but active managers of their most vital resources. In a climate stressed future, this shift is indispensable for India's survival and prosperous journey. Thank you.